today's video, what we're going to do demonstrate is we have a VM, Ubuntu Linux VM running on Azure, and we want to take a backup using Azure Backup, and we also want to restore some files and some folders on that machine using Azure Backup. So let's start. We go to the machine first to see where we have right now. So as you can see, the virtual machine and the service named server 1. It's running Ubuntu Linux in my Azure portal, as you can see in here. And basically what we're going to do is first try to figure out the public IP of this machine. For simplicity of this demo, I have not restricted the public access of this machine. So this is the public IP, and I'm going to use my putty. We'll define a new session. So here you go. I'll log in by my user. So I logged in. So this is my home directory here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a folder here. And then I'll go in the directory, and then I will create a file called test file. So now we have in my home directory, I have a directory called test data, and inside the test data folder or directory, I have a file called test file. And if I check the content of this file, so it has some content there as well. So next step is to enable the backup of Azure Backup of this machine. We'll take a first backup of this machine, and once the backup is finished, we will come back on this machine on the operating system and remove this folder and the file, and then we will recover the files from Azure Backup. So let's go back to the Azure portal. In the Azure portal, if you go to the virtual machine, on the left hand side you will see a blade here. That's a backup blade. If you click on the backup blade, it tells you that you have to configure a backup vault. It's a recovery service vault. To make sure that the backup runs, you have to have a recovery service vault, and that recovery service vault has to be in the same region as that of your VM which you're trying to take the backup. So let's create a new vault. I will call it vault 1 2 3 4 5 6, right? In the resource group test RG. There are two different type of backup policies that are available in Azure. We have standard policy type, which allow you to run once a day backup, and it will also store snapshots for the faster recovery in a ZRS or zonal redundancy storage tier. There is another type, is called enhanced backup type, which allow you to take multiple backups per day. And as you can see, the operational tier is much bigger as compared to the standard backup policy tier. It also supports a trusted Azure VM. So now for simplicity, we will actually go with the standard tier policy, and the policy we need to create, right? So we added this policy. We'll name it, like, for example, test policy and in the policy you can specify the backup schedule and the retention period. So for example, as you can see here, I can run daily backup at 8 a.m. For example, I can select my New York time or Atlantic time, so I'm going for the Eastern time, and I want to run every, let's say 4 o'clock in the morning, I want to run the daily backup. Then there are instant restore. So instant restore is a feature from Azure Backup which allow you to take a instant snapshot of the VM, and that snapshot you can restore it instantly if required to. And you can also tweak your retention policy for those snapshots. So let's say I want to keep those snapshots for 3 days for the instant recovery of the VM or the full VM. And then we also have the retention of the daily backup. I want to keep, let's say, my daily backup only for 15 days. I can also configure my weekly backups. Let's say I'm taking weekly backup on every Saturday morning, right? And I will keep it for only 3 weeks. Then I have the retention of the monthly backup. I want to run it on last Sunday of every month, and I want to keep it only for 1 year or 12 months. Then I can also configure the retention of the yearly backup. Now, yearly backup is something which is very important sometimes from the compliance point of view. Some compliance require the yearly backup to be taken every year and retained for 7 years. So let's go and configure our yearly backup as well. I'm going to run it on last week of December instead of first week. So basically I'm going to uncheck January and make sure that December is selected, and I'm going to go with the last, maybe we can go the fourth one, and then so the fourth week of fourth Sunday of every December we are going to take it the yearly backup. And the how many years you want to retain. So you can change the retention policy number of days as well, or you can actually change the retention up to the 10 years retention based on week based. So I will go with the days based, that's more safer, and I will retain for 7 years. So our policy is ready, and let's say, and we can, policy is edited with my requirements, and as you can see it's actually showing you the details of your policy. And now we're going to enable the backup of my server 1 from the same port. So while it takes some time, we'll wait for the deployment to complete, and then we'll go back and take a first full backup. Because you have to take a first full backup, which is an ad hoc backup, and that will make sure that the first backup of my server is done through Azure. Azure also provides another useful tool. It's called Backup Center. So if you go to the Backup Center or search for Backup Center, you will see that there is a Backup Center there. On the Backup Center, you will see the overall picture of your backup Azure backups which you have configured in your environment, in your account. So it's give you a central picture of your backups in the environment. Right now, as you can see, no virtual machine has been configured with the Azure backup, and there has no backup have been done so far. So let's wait for our deployment to succeed. It's still going on. And once it is completed, you should be able to see that one VM is protected, and then we will take one ad hoc backup. So I'll pause the video and then come back and see that how we can take a first ad hoc backup of my VM. So now the deployment is complete. So let's go back to the resource. Let's go back to our server, and let's check it. So as you can see here, if you go to the backup, as you can see, it says that the backup rechecks are passed, but the last backup status is actually saying initial backup pending, which means that we have to take the first ad hoc backup of this VM. So let's start the backup, and this is the first ad hoc backup we are triggering from our server 1. It will take at least 30 to 45 minutes to complete for this backup. So I'll pause my video and then come back again once the first backup is done, and then we will move to the next step, which is deletion of the folders and files from the operating system, and then try to use this backup to recover those files and folders. So as you can see on the backup center, our backup still going on. Let's refresh it. So as you can see, the backup is still in progress of our VM, and it is transferring it to the vault. So let's wait for a few more minutes. Hopefully it will finish in a few minutes, and then we go from there. So our backup is completed, as you can see on the Azure Backup Center. The backup is completed, and we have now one Azure VM which is completely protected. So let's go back to our Linux machine here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to the folder. Inside the folder we have file here, and we are going to remove this file. Okay, and then I'm going to remove the directory as well. Okay, so now the data is gone, the file and folders are gone. So what we have to do is to try to restore these files on the folder which we have got deleted from the operating system. So let's go back to our VM. As you can see, the backup center is here, but we will not restore the file from the backup center. We have to go back to the VM itself, the virtual machine. For the individual file recovery, you have to go back to the server itself and then go to the backup. And inside the backup, you have to select the file recovery. We have to select this restore point from which backup we need to restore these files. And then it will give you an option to download a script, and it will also give you a password to be used when you run that script. So the steps are like, basically you have to download, and the steps are almost same in Windows operating system or any other Linux operating system, that you have to download the script, and then you have to transfer that script to your operating system. That means that you have to transfer that script to Azure Linux VM or the Windows VM where you want to recover the files, and then you have to run that script with the password given to you by Azure. And what the script will do is that it will mount the drives from the backup, from the restore point which we have already selected, and those drives will be mounted on the same machine. In Windows operating system, you will see them as mounted as additional drives. In case of Linux operating system, you will see that there are some additional volumes which get mounted, as we will see right now in this demo. And then once they are mounted, then you go back into this mounted volumes and find out your directory and the folders and the files which you want to recover, and then just copy them over. There are two ways of doing on the Linux operating system. You can do simple cp command, or you can take a tar backup and then transfer the tar backup to the original operating system. So let's go ahead and download the script first. It will take some time, maybe a couple of minutes, to download the script. The script will be downloaded on your in this demo I'm actually running it from my laptop. So the script will get downloaded in my download directory of my laptop, from where I will use WinSCP or any other file transfer protocol or utility to transfer that script back to my original Linux VM, and then I will run it from there. In case of Linux, the important thing is that it's a Python script. You will get it, and that Python script, to run that Python script, you need Python to be installed on the Linux operating system. In the case of Ubuntu or Azure Ubuntu VM, you will get Python 3 automatically installed as a part of this operating system installation. But in case if you're doing it into a Fedora Linux or any other Linux which does not have Python installed, then you have to install the Python first and then run the script. So as you can see, it says that the script is ready to download. So the script is downloaded, and one thing which is very important, that this script is basically a very long name. Now one option is that we can rename it right now on the operating system. So let's say if we rename it, make sure that the Python extension is not, we can call it, let's say, file recovery.python. Okay, so now this Python script is ready. Now what we'll do, we'll go to the WinSCP and then transfer the file. So let's make a new site first. The host IP of my Linux operating system is, let's find out the IP address first. Okay, so my public IP of this VM is, that's my public IP. So I'll put it here, and username. So I've logged in, and now I'm going to transfer this file to just copy this file. Okay, so once the file is copied, go back to our Linux machine. It should be a Python script right now. As you can see, the file recovery demo.python script is there. Just to make sure that we have Python installed, although it should be installed, but let's see. It's in the path. Yeah, it's running. It's there basically on the operating system. So what we need basically when we run it, what we need is the password, right? So this is our password which we needed. So let's copy it as well, and let's run Python 3 and then file recovery demo.py. So it may install some additional utilities on the Linux operating system, which is fine. We have to make sure that this Linux VM has the internet connectivity. For this demo, it's publicly, I have created this VM with public access. But in case if you don't have the public access, it's running on the private only, then you have to make sure that it can go outside to the public internet using NAT gateway, for example. So it's now installing some additional softwares and libraries which are needed for successful execution of this recovery script. Let's pause for a few minutes and then come back when this script execution is finished. And okay, now it's actually asking for the password. So what we have to do is to put the password here. Now it will make the connection to the Azure and mount the volumes from the backup on this machine. So it says mounted successfully. So let's see. Yeah, as you can see here, we have got volume 1, volume 3 mounted. So these are basically the volumes which are coming from Azure Backup. So let's go to the first volume. Let's see whether we have our required files there or not. Okay, home directory here. As you can see, we have this test data here, which is definitely the one we are looking for. And there should be a file there as well. Yeah, we have the test file here as well. Yeah, we have test file as well. So basically what we have to do is just copy over these files, or the file we want to recover on the operating system. So let's say that I just want to just restore the file. For example, this test file is the one which we are interested to restore. So what I'm going to do is cp-p test file back to my, for example, I mean, I can copy the whole folder as well, but I just want to recover one file, so that's fine. I'm not interested in recovering the whole directory. So just want to copy this file back to its original location. Now if I go back to my home directory and check my file is there or not, so I'll just check the file. And as you can see, the file is recovered from the backup. Now, once the backup recovery is done, what we have to do is to make sure that we clean up this operating system as well. So for doing that, Azure provides you a mechanism to unmount the disk. So just click unmount disks. It will take some time, and based on my experience, what it looks like that between the unmount says successfully and the operating system. So as you can see here right now, if you see tf command, the folders from the backup are still mounted. What I have experienced is that when the portal says unmount successfully is done, you still have to wait for a few minutes before these volumes get dismounted from the operating system. There is another way is that if they are not unmounting, you can also run the unmount command, but I don't recommend it. I would recommend that you should wait for a few more minutes.